Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Army's Royal Australian Corps of Infantry is Lieutenant Colonel Paul Sanderson. We are honoured to acknowledge Air Vice Marshal John McGarry, Australian Department of Defence, Lieutenant General Vincent R. Stewart, United States Department of Defence, Rear Admiral Scott Bishop, Canadian National Defence Headquarters, Commodore Richard Powell, Defence Advisor, British High Commission, and Brigadier John Howard, New Zealand Ministry of Defence. We also acknowledge members of the 6th Combat Support Brigade. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony around Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, St Mary's School, North Sydney, St John's Primary School, Lambton, and Millthorpe Public School, Millthorpe. And from Victoria, Ringwood North Public School, Ringwood North. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Guests, please sit if you wish to do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and other operations over more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private David Jones. David Jones was born in 1871 in Shropshire, England, the eldest son of William and James Jones of Bridgnorth. When he was 7 years old, his family emigrated to Australia, living in Newbridge and then Cogra before settling in Wingello. He attended the local state school and went on to become an orchardist and station manager. Jones was 44 years old when he enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in February of 1916. He began training with the 17th Battalion and left Sydney Harbour on board the troop ship Ceramic in April of 1916. He first went to Egypt, where he continued training with the infantry, and then to England. Private Jones arrived in France to fight on the Western Front in September 1916 and served with the 17th Battalion during the bitterly cold winter that followed. In January of 1917, Private Jones transferred to the 2nd Division Salvage Company. He continued to serve on the Western Front, working in and around salvage and ammunition dumps near the front line. He was known to be of a most unassuming personality, which endeared him to all his comrades. On the 9th of August 1918, Private Jones was working behind the lines as the Battle of Amiens raged, where he received a gunshot wound to the abdomen. He was taken to a nearby casualty clearing station for treatment, but died shortly afterwards. He was buried in the Vignacourt British Cemetery, where he lies today under the words, "Forever with the Lord, gone but not forgotten." He was 47 years old. 3 of David Jones's brothers served in the AIF during the First World War. Tom and Jim were both seriously wounded and invalided back to Australia before the war's end, but all 3 survived. David Jones's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private David Jones, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and good evening.